even when it's ugly, it doesn't mean it's not working. It just means that it's ugly. There wasn't anyone pulling me aside and saying, "Hey, this is what I think you could do. Who's your potential?" I had to kind of stumble into it 10 years ago. I didn't know any of this was possible for me, and then here we are.
Rise up, mind shift, new day, new hustle, street lights, bright ideas, courage through the struggle. Focus on the vision, move smart, stay true. From the city to the boardroom, we breaking through, shift gears, new fears, but we thrive in attention. Turn lessons into action, goals into intention. Don't blink, stay up, every player's precision. Welcome to mind shift, where ambition meets the mission.
Yeah, my name's Andre Davis. I've done a lot of philanthropic work. I've done a lot of corporate community work, and I stayed kind of in that mode because I think there's some synergy between corporate and nonprofit and giving back. And so a lot of the work that I do for corporate is going into companies that feel stuck and helping them get unstuck in a number of ways. And so that might be communication, might be engagement, might be strategy, might be culture, might be a lot of different ways how we look at the business, and then implementing those strategies. So really, my work is centered around transformational growth strategy work.
You've spent years being the only person in the room who looked like you. What did that do to how you showed up?
Yeah, I think just stay true to who you are. I think part of it is we kind of sway with the wind. Whether you're an entrepreneur or an entrepreneur, right? We kind of sway with the wind. And what I would tell you is just stay true to who you are, why you started doing what you're doing, and just know that there are rooms that want you to be your authentic self. And the rooms that don't, those probably aren't the rooms for you.
When you were in a room where your perspective isn't welcome, how do you make them hear it anyway?
I think I started figuring out by the reaction to how I was showing up in rooms, spaces that didn't look like me. The reaction from people really confirmed that I needed to be my authentic self, my unapologetically me. And I started seeing success from that. And so for me, it was just a kind of an affirmation that show up the way you're supposed to show up. Always learn, always collect people along the way, and always ask for help. And I think for me, the voice with me was just stay the course.
Nobody pulled you aside and showed you your true potential. How'd you figure out what were you actually capable of?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question because when I talk to groups or individuals and I do some coaching and some I go into companies that help them with a lot of different things. One of the things I have to be careful about saying is when I say be authentically you, what I don't mean is don't go into a room and throw a grenade into a room and go, here's me. It's not what I mean. What it means, though, if you have a divergent thought about something you're hearing in a corporate boardroom, there are ways to ask clarity and to put forward a different process. And a lot of times your words matter. So be careful about the words because what you don't want people to retreat. You want people to sort of lean in because the only way you can grow any company or any organization is through innovation, different thought. When you have group thought or group think in a business, you can stagnate a business. So you need people to think differently. And so what I would encourage you to do is listen first, ask questions, and then just open up with, if there was a better way to do what you're trying to do, would you be open to it? And then how would you want me to submit an idea that I think that could move us forward in any company? And so it's centered around that verbiage. And if you can do that, because when people have an idea, it's their idea. And it's almost like when you see people and they go, I have to have, look at my cute baby, and you know the baby's not cute. And you go, yeah. And you get in your car and go, that's an ugly baby. You can't tell a business owner or a founder their business is ugly. So you have to kind of let them know you've done really great. But here's what I was thinking. And that's the dialogue you want to have with anyone when you're trying to move them out of what they created into another space that might be awkward, uncomfortable, foreign, scary, risky, whatever they feel it's going to be, all the emotions. You have to let them know this is a different way of looking at the business based on your experience.
What do you tell an entrepreneur who's doing everything right, but nothing is working yet?
I think for me, I love the question of that, Quincy. I think for me, it was because I was in a business where um, it wasn't very diverse. You show up in a room and really nobody looks like you. You know, I had no title, I had no power at the time that I thought. And so what I kept saying is be a sponge, learn, collect people, get to know people, spend time with people that are smarter than you, and just soak up all that knowledge and then you do that for somebody else. Because really, when I was growing up in business, there wasn't anyone pulling me aside and saying, "Hey, this is what I think you could do. Who's your potential?" I had to kind of stumble into it. And when I stumbled, it was this beautiful thing that the way I thought was received very well. The way I moved through rooms was received very well. And I just started collecting, people that had a lot of power, had a lot of influence, and they would advocate on my behalf. And so for me, it felt great. But at the same time, when you don't have those things, then you just have to be a sponge, start collecting information, get smarter by listening. And you take that and you start stair stepping up your career, your success. And then that gives you the confidence to continue that journey. And even now, I'm around a lot of smart people smarter than me. I prefer that, by the way. And I want to be around people smarter than me because it makes me think differently. And I'm always looking for that.
You going into companies with no experience in their industry and being asked to fix them. What happens when you get it wrong?
I think just it comes back to me. It will always, again, I'm married to an entrepreneur. I work with entrepreneurs and I have for a number of years, work with founders, etc. I think for me, it comes back to who are you? What are you trying to do? Stay in faith. Believe that this is when you're kind of walking through the junk is what I will say. When success is not happening, there's a tendency to sort of say, this is not going to work. Or you start to say, maybe I need to try something else and you want to give up. What I would tell you is get around people that will encourage you, help you, because we all need help. And even today, there are things that I'm trying to work on that I need help with, right? And so I go to those people that know they can help me. And I'm asking, what are you seeing? What are you sensing? Who could I talk to? What would you do if you were me? Do all those things. And even when it's ugly, it doesn't mean it's not working. It just means that it's ugly, but that's where all the growth happens. People get really confused because they think success is just beautiful, Pollyannish thing, and you're just gonna. It's all the things you see on Instagram and all of the stuff, right? It's not that it's dirty work, and a lot of times it's when you're not working, but everything you're accumulating in terms of people you meet, information, ideas, knowledge, all of that is building you to your next platform. But sometimes because it's so ugly, we stop. And what I want to encourage you to do is to keep going because there was a point in my career where I was kind of stagnant, didn't feel like, well, you didn't really know where I wanted to go with my career. And then boom, it happened and my career blew up and it's continued to blow up. And all the things I get a chance to do now, I wasn't doing 10 years ago. I'm doing them now. But 10 years ago, I didn't know any of this was possible for me. And then here we are. So just stay in faith, get around smart people that encourage you and shed the people that are discouraging you and taken away from you. What I would ask people to do is when you're around people, think about when you left that meeting. Did it inspire you? Did it give you energy? Or did it drain you? And if it drains you, you need to stop hanging around those people.
You get asked to walk into some of the highest level rooms in business. Does imposter syndrome ever show up, and what do you do with it?
Things happen, right? It's your reaction to them. So for me, um, because the last 10 years I've gone into businesses with no experience and I've been asked to help these companies grow and I have to listen to the business, how they go about their work, who they're trying to interact with, why, how's our culture, what do our people think, is everybody on the same page, all those things. So when you don't know an industry, you're going to stumble. And so when I look, and I have stumbled, but I never thought I wouldn't make it work. It was just a stumble, but it was also where I go with that too. And what, even if you're an entrepreneur, what you should be thinking about is what was the takeaway from the stumble? Like, what did you learn from the stumble? Because what you learn in that moment actually propels you forward and you don't make those mistakes again. Right. And so that's a lot of what innovation is you try a lot of different things. You note down what works, what doesn't work, and you move forward. You cannot keep making the same mistakes. And so for me, it was I look forward to the mistake because it allows me to grow and learn about what part of that business wasn't working and where did I miss the mark. Let's not do that moving forward so that when you start to interact with more people, you will already have your antenna up because you'd already been down that road. If you hadn't been down that road, you don't know what you're looking for. And so I really want to think people think about, especially in business, especially with starting a business, whether you're a sole proprietor or whatever you are. Lean into the lesson of failure because it's not failure, it's just growth. Loading is what that is. And if you can learn from that moment, it's oftentimes what takes you into a different direction, which blows the business up.
What's the insecurity you had to kill to become who you are now?
We always have insecurity, right? That's a deep question. I was just on a panel recently talking about this. Some would call it imposter syndrome. Um, Even the most successful people have imposter syndrome. The ones that control it best, they don't stay in that mode very long. So you might feel like for me, I get asked to do a lot of cool things, podcasts, speaking, leading teams, working with cultures and all this other stuff, going into companies that need help. For me, the question then becomes, why are they asking me? But then the minute I say that, I go, they're asking me because I know exactly what I'm doing. They hired me for a reason. And we're going to have a divergent thought process. We're going to think about different things. So what I would encourage people to do, many of us that have titles or success or whatever success looks like, a lot of us have insecurities that the thing that the ones that are the most successful, in my opinion, they don't stay in that world very long. So you may be insecure about something, but you don't hover there very long. You snap back and you go, I'm doing this because I was asked to do it. If we stumble, we stumble, we're going to learn from it. And so you're going to have some insecurities because it's unfamiliar, and that's growth. Growth makes you feel insecure because it's growth and you don't know it yet. But if you think about everything that you've done, there was a time where you couldn't drive a vehicle. There was a time where you didn't know how to work your phone. But as you kept playing with the phone, you started looking at all the things it could do, and you were very comfortable. When you're uncomfortable, you get a little insecure, but that's also where the growth starts. You cannot, how people know this, you cannot have any success in life without being uncomfortable because that is where growth is taking its shape. If you're very comfortable right now, you absolutely are not growing. And you need to think about what that means for you and the business.
You've watched entrepreneurs get so locked into their original idea that they miss what the market was actually telling them. What does that look like, and how do you break through it?
Yeah, those questions are they're what every business owner faces, small, medium, large. It's large, which is on a bigger scale. I think the ones that manage through the crisis or the chaos, they have an ability to stay calm and to believe that there are going to be better days ahead. Um, and again, I've worked with a lot of entrepreneurs, and I'm married to an entrepreneur founder. And so for me, the business starts to morph. But I would tell people, and I would help people understand, get calm in those moments. Don't freak out. Get calm, whether it's meditation, whether figure out something that allows you to step away for an hour a day. Um, and take your mind off the business, and then you come back refreshed in the business. So for me, I think the calmness is what you have to do in the chaos, because if you are chaotic in the chaos, that is not helping solve the problem that you're trying to solve. And then the other thing I would say is when you can't figure something out, because there's this tendency, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a venture capitalist or whatever you are, there's this tendency to think that I'm too big to ask for help. And none of us are. We all ask for help, even at the highest levels. There are people that say, I don't have it all figured out. How do I figure it out? Who can I talk to get a perspective? And if you could do that and humble yourself and get out of what you think people are doing out there, because there's a lot of people pretend to know everything about everything. I don't ever want to be around those people. I want people that are trying to figure things out and they're vulnerable enough to say, I don't have it figured out. Help me figure it out. Here's what I'm thinking. What would you do in a situation like that? You will gain more people. You will gain more clarity in the business. Even in your corporate world, you'll gain more clarity in the corporate world if you are leaning and asking for help versus just sitting in the chaos and you're being chaotic in the chaos.
Clarity doesn't come the way people think it does. How did yours actually show up?
No, it shows up in a lot of different ways. Sometimes the clarity can come when you've left whatever the event of the business, not leave in terms of giving it up, but you left for the day and you're going home and your mind is still running. Clarity can come in the car. Clarity can come at a stoplight. Clarity can come at an event. Clarity can come from a coffee meeting where you're just interacting with someone and something in that conversation triggers you to start thinking about the business different. Here's an example. And I won't name any names. There was a gentleman I was working with, an entrepreneur, and he started the business. The technology he started, there was another company that came to him and said, "I'd love your technology to do this for my company." Well, he didn't want to take it that way because that's not what the technology was designed to do. And so what I asked him was, but if the market doesn't bear what your initial idea was for the business, but there is a way to transform the technology into a different industry, why would you not move forward in it? Entrepreneurs get so locked in, and most businesses that start never start with the intention of what the initial idea was. If anyone's ever read the story about Dyson, the Dyson vacuum cleaner was never going to be a vacuum cleaner. It was a wheelbarrow because he wanted a better ball. He morphed it into a vacuum because he used the technology to create a better vacuum. And most aren't willing to do that. You get real rigid and you can't be as an entrepreneur. You've got to be really, really agile. And so clarity can come in a lot of different ways if you're listening. If you're listening, if you're not listening, and you're talking and you're not willing to learn, it's very hard for you to get clarity.
What's one thing you consumed? A book, a conversation, a video, anything that you pointed to as a thing that changed how you think?
Yeah, it's all of it, right? It's podcasts, it's video clips, right? Where someone that's had success is talking about leadership and how to treat people. I read a lot of books, and the list is too long to name here, but one of the books that I like that I really really like was, and this is more about getting around people um, that know more than you know, right? Was Think Again: The Power of Knowing What You Don't Know by Adam Grant. Good book because what it's saying, it's okay not to know. We have built success in such an unattainable way that if you're successful means you know everything. And I'm around a lot of successful people, and I don't know, none of the people that I'm around feel like they know everything or do they have everything figured out. So listen to people that think differently you, even in different industries. Get around people that think differently than you, so you can get a better perspective. The other book I would say, um, that I really like because it tells you, why are you here? Why are you doing the business? Why do you show up at your corporate jobs? Why are you with that nonprofit? Would be a book called Life Worth Living. And all the book's asking is, if you were to sort of pass away and go to heaven and God asked you, I gave you all these skills, abilities, and talents. What did you do with them? And what it's asking is you to have an answer. And if you don't have an answer, then it's saying you should start living your life now so you have an answer to that question, because we all got to pass away at some point. And for me, I want my life to have mattered. Many people do. They just don't know how to go about it with philanthropic efforts, whether it's mentoring, whether it's starting this business and leaving a legacy, whatever it is, you want your life to have mattered. We're at a day now where Reverend Jesse Jackson just passed away uh, last night. And so all the remembrance, would you want a life like that, that people are remembering you for the things, the impact you had on other people? And by the way, um, business should be about how you impact others, not the money. The money will come, but it should be the sustainability of the business is really about how you impact other people, make their lives better, all the things. And that's the stuff that I care about.
If you lost everything tomorrow, the business, the title, the money, who would you be? What would be left?
Well, when you lead, when you're unapologetically you, you don't lead with titles. You don't lead with what your company does. I know I am a great. I'm a son. I'm a brother. I'm a husband. I'm a father. Those are the things that matter. Most of us going to a funeral, they don't talk about your title. They don't talk about your car. They don't talk about the money you made. They talk about how you made them feel. And so get rid of all the stuff, the titles and all that. I know who I would be, someone that cared about people, that was really focused on having an impact on people, especially the folks that are underserved, that don't feel like they've seen any success in life. I'm a first generation college student, raised by a single parent. And so I didn't have, the nuclear family of two parents. but we turned out okay, right? I had a lot of people around me that encouraged me, right? So for me, it's about legacy always. What do we leave back? And I want people to know that I'm someone that cared about other people first, wanted to serve first. And what I've seen from that in just my life, my career, that all the stuff you want comes when you serve other people. And that's hard when you're trying to make money, and I get it, but you will start to collect people, and those people will advocate on your behalf. And then those same people are oftentimes that help you down the road with your career, your business, etc. And they are the advocates or sponsors that I talk about in a lot of talks that I give.
What did you have to let go of to become the person you are today?
The way we talk to ourselves, you got to let that go, right? We are our worst critics. We have this we talk to ourselves in very negative ways. It might be if you're starting the business where you talk about this is not working, and it's that language, right? You got to get rid of all that negative speak. And there's an old saying: if you could hear how other people talk about you, you'd never talk bad about yourself. You got to get around people that are encouraging you, so you're not talking about yourself badly. So it's the internal speak that I would tell people that you got to get away from, and you got to have a little faith, but you also got to be around people that are encouraging, like we talked about earlier. And it gets that negative speak out. But if you're around people who have told you when the business is struggling or the career is not going right, that, hey, I knew that career wasn't going to be good for you. Hey, I knew that business wasn't going to take off. You ought to just come work with me over here. You got to get rid of those people, and that's hard to do. And then maybe get rid of is too strong, but I think you have to spend less time with people like that because they're not helping you. Um, and I'm just fortunate, and I built this, but I'm around some very good people that pour into me in a number of ways. I don't have everything figured out. I'm figuring things out still. But I talk to myself in very positive ways. And I think that's the thing that I would encourage people to do. Stop talking to yourself in a negative way. It is not helping you or the business or the people around you, because the stress, they sense it, they pick it up. And if you're always showing up that way, they can tend to not want to spend time with you because everybody has stuff. You're not the only one with stuff. Everybody has something. They just don't show it. Because if you look at your life and you look at somebody else's life, someone is always doing worse than you are. And you got to have some gratitude about where you are today while you're building your career and your future.
Someone is watching this right now who's exactly where you were at your worst. What do you want them to hear?
That it's possible. That to keep going, right? But keep going is just this thing where I don't want you to keep going being who you are. In order for you to grow, you have to shed who you are. You just do. You can't grow and say, but I'm the same person. You cannot be the same person. I'm a very different person than I was 10 years ago, even 15 years ago, right? Very different how I think, how I act, how I move, what I care about. There's an evolution of us, or an evolution to us, rather. And so you can't, that's the problem with when you're hanging around people that you've always hung around, but then you haven't moved, you haven't grown, you haven't progressed. You have to get around different people that think different, that are moving. And so the old person, you can't be the old person and stay the same. I get a chance to be around some former teachers, and a lot of them think of me when I was going to high school, and they say, you're so different. Of course I am. I'm older. I've got experience underneath me. I've matured, all the things, right? And so what I would encourage people to do is continue to get better at your craft. Continue to be around people that think differently because it stretches your thinking. Go to things you've never gone to. Be around people, even industries that are not in your industry. If you're a tech, don't just hang around tech people. Get around financial people. Get around people that communicate really like you'd like to communicate. So much of our business, being an entrepreneur, a founder, your communication is key. Get around people that have a really good culture so that when you have a culture or 10 or 15 people that are working in your business, you know how to treat those people because you can't grow a business while you're shedding people. So I would just say always be in growth mindset, continue to get better. You're going to have to change for sure. You cannot be the same person. and grow, it doesn't even make any sense, right? So you're going to have to change. And it didn't mean change who you are as a person, but you're going to change how you think, how you grow, how you approach things. There are different ways to attack different things. You got to be open to all of that because if you are not, um, it is very hard to become the founder that you envision yourself coming, or the entrepreneur that you envision yourself coming. If you're the same no one stays the same that has growth. It just doesn't make any sense. And it's not scientifically, it doesn't make any sense to do that. So you're going to have to shed who you are. But it's really, on the other side of that, though, it is a beautiful thing to become better at your craft, more visible in the community, getting back to the community versus just doing what other people do. And you're still you at your core. What I'm saying is don't change who you are at your core, but grow your mind is what I want you to think about.